doctor heard a heartbreaking scream from the twins' room. What he saw was absolutely horrific. Twins who were identical to each other. Down syndrome was present at birth to Abigail and Isabel Perry. They were 5 years old. When it comes to identical twins, the chances of having identical twins with the disease are 1 in a million. But Jody and Matt Perry of Chorley and Lancashire are beyond thrilled with their children and claimed they wouldn't change anything about them if they had their way. The girls are now enrolled in a regular school where they mostly communicate through sign language. Abigail and Isabel, 5-year-old identical twins, dressed in matching blue jeans, white robes and suede boots, are not only impossible to communicate, tell each other that they are also 1 in a million twins, according to their mother. The reason behind this is that, well, the odds of having a child with Down syndrome in the United Kingdom are about 1 in 1,000. The odds of having identical twins with the condition are about 1 in a million. Jody and Matt Perry of Chorley, Lancashire, admitted that they were both devastated when they learned that their daughters had been diagnosed with the disease. It is their pride that they can state that even if their gorgeous daughters could be born again without Down syndrome, they would not want Abigail and Isabel to be different from them. Now Joni Perry, the police response driver, and her husband Matt, a government employee, are pictured in their home in Corris, Lancashire, with their daughters Abigail and Isabel. They say they could not be prouder of their daughters, and claim that even if their daughters were born again without Down syndrome, they wouldn't want them to be different. When we discovered they both had Down syndrome when they were born, we were devastated, added Jody, adding that it wouldn't change anything in their lives now. I don't think there is anything else in the world that could convince me to change my mind. I wouldn't say that if I made any compromises as a result of the girls. Jody's birth, who works for the police department, continued. It may seem a little rosy, but the only things they contributed to our lives were excellent. There is nothing terrible about it. I don't care how many chromosomes they have. Matt, who works as a federal employee, stated about Down syndrome that I am not interested in biology and the science behind it. It makes no difference. Twins, who are 5 and identical, Abigail and Isabel, were born with Down syndrome, which is a genetic disorder. The odds of identical twins being born with the disorder are 1 in a million according to statistics. I found that the only difference between them and their brother Finn is the rate at which they mature, says author Finn, who is 8 years old, is his sister's biggest supporter, and says that my life wouldn't be the same without them. Because my sisters have Down syndrome, I have to help them a little more than if I had sisters who didn't have Down syndrome, because they could learn faster. Neither Isabel nor Abigail were born without a hole in their heart, and both suffer from thyroid disease and mild and moderate learning difficulties. Obviously they have more hospital appointments and routine. Jody's exams explained that they get blood work to see if they have an underactive thyroid. They take the 2 kids to the hospital, and you are in a nightmare, just because you have 2 things that are a little different. Now everything is easier, takes a little longer than usual. Between 2011 and 2013, there was an increase in abortions for Down syndrome, and Matt and Jody are afraid that the number of terminations could rise further if balanced advice is not provided in conjunction with a contentious new test for the condition. According to Jody, when Down syndrome is identified prenatally, a letter is sent to the mother saying this child has Down syndrome. You may terminate your pregnancy within the following 10 weeks, and it's a little heartbreaking to think about this if you are given the opportunity to stop right away, and no one will tell you the advantages and disadvantages. I believe that people would prefer to stop Down syndrome. Down syndrome, also known as trisomy 21, has an extra chromosome 21 in the body, leading to a genetic disorder known as Down syndrome. Physical deficiency, also hearing and vision problems, as well as congenital heart disorders can result from this condition. 1 out of every 1,000 newborns will be born with Down syndrome, although the causes have not yet been established. Older women are more likely than younger mothers to develop the disorder, but because young women have higher fertility rates than older women, most children with Down syndrome suffer from the condition. Down syndrome newborns are born to women under the age of 35. This year, a controversial screening procedure will be used that will allow parents to determine if their unborn child has Down syndrome while still in the womb. The National Health Service (NHS) says the non-invasive prenatal NIP test has 99% accuracy in detecting pregnancies. A couple created a foundation called Twinsis in an effort to raise awareness of the benefits of having children with Down syndrome. Twinsis, according to Jody, is a celebration of Down syndrome and a way to dispel any lies. Although Matt and Jody have come to terms with the extra chromosomes that contributed to Isabel and Abigail, Matt admits that their initial reaction when they discovered that their twins had Down syndrome, the syndrome, was devastating. I don't think I will ever forget what happened that day. He said he felt like although the whole universe came to an end, my life was not turning out the way I thought it would. I had just completely turned off the computer. Jody's pregnancy was classified as high risk because she was expecting identical twins, and she was regularly scanned throughout her pregnancy. Premature delivery. As a result, the twins spent 4 weeks in the newborn ward when the doctors told Perry that their babies would be screened for Down syndrome. When the doctor took us to a separate room to discuss the results, He expressed regret that Abigail and Isabel had Down syndrome. Jody recalled, "I will never understand what he regretted until the day I leave life, and I believe that, if I ever had the opportunity to meet him again, I would show him that he had Down syndrome." He Abigail and Isabel and asked why you said, "Excuse me," when there's no way in the world we would change Abigail and Isabel. He knows what changes happen to twins with Down syndrome. Actually having identical twins with Down syndrome is extremely unusual, with earlier studies estimating that it happens in only 1 in a million births in the United States. When it comes to twin births, 2 in every 1,000 babies are born with Down syndrome according to the study. When both children are affected, what was done in 2016, only 6% of these people are identical twins, and the remaining 94% are non-identical twins, account for 2% of all newborns with Down syndrome in the United Kingdom. When there are 3 copies of chromosome 21 instead of the typical 2, a disease called trisomy 21. The probability of having non-identical twins increases with age, and is passed on by families of women who have had non-identical twins through their mothers, sisters, or aunts. Have a higher likelihood of having non-identical twins. Risk increases, and as the mother ages, a woman who gives birth at 37 is 4 times more likely than a woman who gives birth at 18 to have non-identical twins. Evidence that age or family history has influenced the occurrence of identical twins, which is about 4 in every thousands of births worldwide. Natural births are the only ones that fall into this category. Multiple births in twins are more common in women who use assisted reproductive procedures, especially ovarian stimulation. Down syndrome twins are rare in about 2% of the 15,000 children with Down syndrome who are on the National Down Syndrome Registry. Cytogenic syndrome registration in the United Kingdom. Twins or have multiple births. According to the registry, a total of 244 twin pairs, some diagnosed prenatally, have been documented, with 29 couples, 11.8% containing both children with Down syndrome. Both have Down syndrome, possibly not identical from one egg, as one the pair may be a boy and the other a girl. There were a small number of cases where the affected pregnancy was supported by hormones. As a result of these findings, in a group of 1,000 children with Down syndrome, 14 or 15 would be twins or triplets, with their other twins or triplets unaffected, and 2 other children or 4 would be identical twin pairs with Down syndrome. Based on all births, we estimate that identical twins with Down syndrome are occurring with a rate of 1 or 2 pregnancies per million, and non-identical twins occurring at a rate of 14-15 per million pregnancies. It is reasonable to assume that factors such as family history of twin age and assisted pregnancy will play a role in increasing the risk for some people who are born twins with Down syndrome or multiples.